Hello friends, Tom Downey here for NFL Daily. Time to talk about Kyler Murray, the NFL Draft, and what team could take Kyler Murray in the NFL Draft this season. We'll start things off with the news side of things. Kyler Murray has made his decision. We knew he declared for the NFL Draft, but now he's announced he's committing to football. That's a big deal and a big noteworthy item before we get to the NFL Combine here in a couple of weeks. This helps alleviate the NFL's fear of baseball. Now, I don't think it's ever truly going to get rid of it altogether, and I'm sure you'll see the old anonymous scout point out that it's a little bit concerning to see a player who was committed to baseball 2 months ago suddenly flip all of a sudden, but it does help his NFL draft stock, and from Murray's perspective, minor league baseball will be there in 3, 4, 5 years. If it doesn't work out, football probably won't be. So Kyler Murray is sticking with football. Had options for both, and in all likelihood will go down as the first player to be taken in the first round of the MLB Draft and the NFL Draft in the same season. Now, speaking of baseball and football, which sport were you guys better at? Type B for baseball, F for football. DM me on Twitter at WhatGoingDown if you want my answer. Might actually surprise you a little bit. Back to Kyler Murray himself here. We'll break down some of his strengths and weaknesses and his overall draft stock, then dive in to what teams could take him. Now, Murray, I know he's undersized, but his arm is actually very good. He can make all the throws there. Got a nice little whip on it. It's not a Josh Allen. It's not an Aaron Rodgers, a Mahomes type arm, but it is above average. It's a more than good enough arm to succeed in the NFL. Obviously, we know he put up fantastic numbers at Oklahoma. 69% completion percentage, over 4,000 yards, 42 touchdowns, just 7 interceptions. And oh, by the way, ran for 1,000 yards on just 140 carries. He is incredibly dynamic. I think at times the NFL gets too cute. Put the ball in your most dynamic player's hand. That's Kyler Murray. Now, the big red flag you see right there on your screen, listed at 5'10", 195. Probably comes in a tick under 5'10" when he measures in at the NFL Combine. Might weigh under 195 as well. That's his main weakness. Look, the height and weight are the major concerns around Kyler Murray, and understandably so. The only quarterback we've seen this small have success in the NFL, heck, even make it, was Doug Flutie. The comparison doesn't really work well for Kyler Murray. He's such a unique prospect. Now, I also think that ball placement can be a bit of an issue at times. Accuracy's fine, but I kind of liken it to Deshaun Watson, who I was too low on coming out of Clemson. There are times where ball is completed, but it's actually not in the ideal spot. There were some swings and screens that I thought were a little bit off placement as well, and there are some head-scratching decisions that Kyler Murray makes as well. I remember going back to the Alabama game, he just throws it up into like triple coverage. Really should have been a couple of balls in that game that should have been intercepted. As for Murray, when it comes to the overall NFL draft status, he will likely be a first-round pick. I will be stunned if Kyler Murray does not go in round 1. It's such a down quarterback class. Some team will take the risk on Murray, and there is risk involved because there isn't a great comparison for him. Yeah, Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield were smaller guys, but Murray's even smaller and lighter than they are. That's a big red flag. I like what I see on film. I've got him graded in that round 1/round 2 range. Wait to the Combine and some other stuff to finalize that grade, but I think he's worth taking the shot on. In this year's class, if you're committed to taking a quarterback, why not go after Haskins or Murray instead of a Drew Lock, the not very good Daniel Jones, or any of the other number of mediocre quarterbacks this year? So if you were running an NFL franchise, you're the GM, you're the decision maker, you're the decider. What round would you draft Kyler Murray in? 1, 2, 3, 4? Would you not draft him at all? Let me know in the comment section. It's a worthwhile debate because Kyler Murray is not flawless as a prospect, not that anyone really is, but there's a good debate to be had here about Kyler Murray, who's certainly electric, but just how well will that translate from college football into the NFL? It's a fair question to have, though I think I count myself more in the Kyler Murray believer category than in the doubter side. We'll break down my top 8 teams that could draft Kyler Murray, but I do want to mention 3 that I'm not really think that make much sense. First off, Arizona. This rumor does not make sense to me. The rumor, report, the conspiracy theory, if you want to call it that on Twitter, they just drafted Josh Rosen. Yes, Cliff Kingsbury had praise for Kyler Murray. Guess what? He was an opposing coach. It happens for literally everyone that they play. Tampa Bay, I think they're going to stick with Jameis Winston, so cross them off the list. And the Patriots, I could see it. I think they're a little bit too far down to really make a move up. The Patriots are very similar to my number 8 team, the Los Angeles Chargers. And again, number 8 for a reason, not even in the top 5. Phillip Rivers is still an elite quarterback, but he is 37 years old. there is no quarterback of the future on the LA Chargers roster right now. I don't know who it is. It's not Cardell Jones. It's not Geno Smith. The biggest question for LA, will Murray even last to that pick? If he does, I think they consider it. But now that he's fully committed and really kind of turned the narrative after a very bad interview week during the Super Bowl where he just didn't know what he was doing, now the Chargers check in at number 8. I had him in a recent mock draft there. He's not going to fall that far again, at least not for me, barring some type of development at the Combine. Rivers again, 37 years old. He's your number 1. 1 year left on his contract. After that, it's up. Would he retire? Would the Chargers be willing, in the middle of maybe the last year or two of their window with their current quarterback, to not get him more help and instead try and get a young quarterback to groom behind him? I don't know how Philip would feel about that one. I don't think he'd like it very much. I think the Chargers right now are all in on winning. That's why they check in at number 8. We'll stick in the AFC West, number 7, the Denver Broncos, and I think we're all in agreement here. Case Keenum is a stopgap at best. He is not the franchise answer. He never was. He was always supposed to be the guy who just holds things over for the Denver Broncos until they finally find their young and talented franchise quarterback. And they've been heavily linked to Drew Lock for some understandable reasons there. I get why. The other issue here with the Broncos is that Kyler Murray typically isn't a John Elway type of quarterback. Look at recent history in terms of the draft. Brock Osweiler, Paxton Lynch, big and strong-arm guys, doesn't quite fit the Kyler Murray role. Now, beyond Case Keenum, Denver, and a common theme here, they have nothing when it comes to the depth at quarterback. There's nothing going on there. They have no ability. Kevin Hogan's a mediocre backup at best. Garrett Grayson, former third-round pick, he has not turned out very well, so I'm not buying any of those guys as the option. I think Denver drafts a quarterback, but it might end up being Drew Lock instead. So pick a quarterback to draft this year. Type DL, oh, can't say DL, sorry, injured list now, for Drew Lock, I kid of course, and type KM for Kyler Murray. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Feel free to DM me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney. I got my top 3 or 4 done in terms of quarterbacks, so DM me and I'll hit you up with that list. Today's show brought to you by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code LIVE120 for a 120% deposit bonus. So you put down $50, they're going to give you $60 for free. Use MasterCard or Bitcoin and DM us on Twitter at ChatSports, and we'll get you guys an NFL jersey. Find a better deal out there. Hint, you can't. Except for this one, use Bitcoin, and that bonus becomes 150%. So DM us again on Twitter at ChatSports. We'll help walk you guys through it and get you set up with Bitcoin and get that extra bonus money at chatsports.com/bet. Into number 6, and I like this fit. I like the idea of Kyler Murray in Jacksonville, but I'm not convinced Jacksonville feels the same way. Now, we know Blake Bortles, he's gone. He's not the answer. My concern is that with Tom Coughlin, who I think prescribes to the Bill Parcells rule, of which Kyler Murray doesn't really fit and is not a typical NFL quarterback, at least old school NFL quarterback, would he sign off? I don't know if he actually would. And in particular, I think Nick Foles makes a lot of sense here for the Jags, at least as a couple-year stopgap option to help them win right now. So I'm kind of assuming that Jacksonville makes a big run at a free agent quarterback instead than drafting a guy like Kyler Murray. Either way, they're going to have a new quarterback next year. Because Blake Bortles, he's going to be cut. Cody Kessler, he is a average at best NFL backup. That's who he is. I wouldn't expect anything more. And Tanner Lee is not good. I'm sorry, the one YouTube fan who loved Tanner Lee during our live NFL draft coverage last year, he's just not very good. Into the top 5, and there's been some buzz about this one, the Oakland Raiders, who were, by the way, the BetDSI betting favorite when they published their initial Kyler Murray odds way back when in January. Now, I'm not as convinced as putting them as the betting favorite. Yes, they have number 4. They are the first team with a chance, per se, to get a quarterback, and they have 3 first-round picks. But Derek Carr's salary just guaranteed for 2019. I think they'll look non-quarterback with their first-round pick at their first-round pick at number 4, and maybe reevaluate later on. I don't see them making a big run at Kyler Murray right now. Derek Carr, again, his salary has guaranteed that base salary, so you cut him, you don't save any money. So he's sticking in Oakland. I think Jon Gruden wants to give him 1 more year as the starter. A.J. McCarron, he might get cut. Nathan Peterman, I'm not even going to make a joke about that one. The Raiders might not have a franchise guy in Derek Carr, but I think they would rather start Derek Carr right now at quarterback than Kyler Murray. But which one would you rather start? Type C for Carr, M for Murray. If you're asking me long term, I think I'd like to take the risk on Kyler Murray. But for 1 year, next year, maybe 2 years from now, I'd probably still lean more toward Derek Carr. So kind of a cop-out answer there, I guess. Number 4, the New York Giants, and they seem likely to keep Eli Manning for now, I hope. By the way, Kyle Lauletta is not the answer. He's simply not. Now, my question is number 6 overall too high to take Kyler Murray? I think it might be as we sit right now in early February, mid-February, but maybe the Giants change. Now, there is a report out that the Giants think Kyler Murray is too small to be their quarterback, which I think several NFL teams will feel that way. But at some point, they do need to get an actual competent NFL quarterback. I'm sorry, Eli Manning fans, that's not him. Again, Lauletta literally couldn't beat out Alex Tanney, who's best known for doing trick shots on YouTube, who I love, by the way, but not as an actual NFL backup quarterback. Lauletta's not the answer. I think Dwayne Haskins makes a lot more sense for the Giants in terms of what they're looking for, but it is still, I think, an option. Into the top 3, the 3 that really, really intrigue me as fun fits for Kyler Murray. How about the Miami Dolphins? And Ryan Tannehill, I think, gets cut, which could lead to a whole new quarterback room. Now, there is the report out there, and I'll make note of it, that the Dolphins want a quarterback in the 2020 class, and I understand why. I'm a big fan of Tua. Jake Fromm could have some ability if he continues to develop. Jacob Eason, other guys there. But I think at times you get too caught up in, oh, next year's class will be good. What if Tua blows out his ACL, has a terrible injury, or God forbid something like that happens, or he just regresses? And what if Kyler Murray is on the board at number 13 for the Miami Dolphins? What happens then? Would they at least consider taking him if he's still there? I think they would. In terms of their quarterback situation, it is a mess. There's no other way around it. The Dolphins' quarterback room is going to, I think, be brand new next year. I think Tannehill's gone, for starters. After that, Osweiler, David Fales, they're free agents, and they're also not very good. So I think that makes some sense to move on for those. And if you believe in Luke Falk, I'm sorry, he's not the answer either. Let's get then to number 2 on my list. At number 2, I have the Cincinnati Bengals, and this is my most fun idea, and just on a personal preference, this is what I want to see happen. Now, new regimes often mean new quarterbacks, and the Bengals are stuck in quarterback purgatory, one of the worst spots to be in the NFL. You've got a quarterback that's good enough to win like 9 games, which isn't enough to make the playoffs, but not bad enough to suck and get a high pick to get a new quarterback. This would be, I think, almost an un-Bengals-like move. The new regime comes in, you have Zach Taylor as the new head coach. It'd be a change of pace. But let's make the Bengals fun again. Let's make the Bengals franchise relevant again, which hasn't happened for a couple of years right now. Dalton, his contract, the way it's structured, can be traded or cut. I think there actually might be some trade value there for Andy Dalton. We've seen Jeff Driscoll play. He's bad. We've seen Tom Savage play. He's also bad. There isn't a long-term answer on the Bengals quarterback roster right now, so let's be aggressive as they enter a reset period. Let's have some fun. If I'm Cincinnati, let me take Kyler Murray. Yeah, it's a risk. What's the downside? You're still the Bengals, right? Make it happen. Take that flyer and see if Kyler Murray can become the rare elite prospect who is a runner and a thrower and can do all those types of things and vault the Bengals back near the top of the AFC North. Number 1, though, they are the Washington Redskins. Alex Smith's career, I think that one, unfortunately, might be over. I have a tough time seeing him come back from that injury. If not, he's at least not going to play next year. And the Redskins are in a very bad spot. They have no cap space or young quarterbacks. Sitting at 15, they might have to trade up to get Kyler Murray, which I think might trigger some Redskins fans for the last time they moved up for a young quarterback from a Big 12 school that knows how to run. RG3, I know. But the Redskins, they need a future. It's not Colt McCoy, who I love as a backup. Josh Johnson made some nice plays, but he's old. He's not your long-term answer. And Mark Sanchez is Mark Sanchez. No cap space, no young options. Maybe the Redskins should get aggressive and try to find their young quarterback now, or maybe they just tank next year, which I am always open for as an option for NFL teams, although they never really seem to do it. All right, let's recap then the top teams that could draft Kyler Murray. The LA Chargers, Denver Broncos at 7, the Jacksonville Jaguars at 6, the Oakland Raiders at number 5, and the New York Giants at 4, the Miami Dolphins at number 3, the Bengals, my personal preferred landing spot, at number 2, and the Washington Redskins at number 1 overall. Those were my top 8, but I do want to hear from you guys. What NFL team do you think will draft Kyler Murray? Obviously, plenty of time between now and late April to figure out where Murray ends up, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section.